preceding topics will also relate to this. The next would be psychiatric interview, history, and mental status exam. And we may probably be having our first quiz on, kasi 25 is a holiday, right? So September 1 and so the topics would include history of psychiatry, this topic, and the next two that we will be discussing. So for this morning, these are our learning objectives: to identify the major domains of psychiatric signs and symptoms, differentiate among disturbances in thought, mood, perception, cognition, and behavior, recognize how psychiatric symptoms present across various disorders, and appreciate the importance of accurate symptom recognition in diagnosis and treatment of life. So what I did with this lecture, in the book, there's at the end of the book, there's this part where a glossary of signs and symptoms, where it's alphabetically arranged. So what I did for the lecture, I arranged this according to domains, so disturbances in mood, in thought, in motor behavior, so para it would be easier for us to understand. So in psychiatry, signs and symptoms are what? So clearly demarcated as in other fields of medicine, they often overlap. Like, for example, in schizophrenia, it's called a syndrome because you may experience more than one sign or symptom. Disorders in psychiatry are often described as syndromes, so a constellation of signs and symptoms that together make up a recognizable condition. So I mentioned SCIDS. So your SCIDS may present with hallucinations, delusions, disorganized behavior, so it's a combination of all of these signs and symptoms. So I think we all know that when you talk about signs, these are objective, these are observable. You can see this. Now, for example, agitation, you can see that in your patient. While your symptoms are subjective, this is usually what the patient would experience. Like, I'm feeling sad, I feel irritable or irritated, I'm depressed. So that's the difference between your sign and your symptom. So just what you call it, I just need to flash this slide. Okay, when you talk about mental health, others will automatically think that mental health doesn't mean to say tayo sakit. It's synonymous with mental illness. So when you talk about So we talk about mental health, that includes your state of well-being, so being of sound mind, something that should be looked after. So there are also domains in your mental health that include your psychological, social, emotional well-being. And when we talk about mental illness, it's something that disrupts your mental state and interrupts how you feel, think, communicate, and behave. So mental illnesses can range from the mild mental illness or the issues that we encounter on a daily basis, like stress, to severe cases symptom or group of symptoms that is distressing to the individual and is recognized by him or her as unacceptable or ego-disturbing. So reality testing is still intact. Behavior does not actively violate gross social norms, though it may be quite disabling. So usually patients who are very anxious, they would be referred to as neurotic. They are still in touch with reality. However, their symptoms are affecting their daily lives. So the disturbance is relatively enduring or recurrent without treatment and is not limited to a transitory reaction to stressors. So that's how you define neurosis. While psychosis, on the other hand, the traditional meaning of the term psychosis emphasizes loss of reality testing and impairment of mental functioning. And this is usually manifested by delusions, hallucinations, confusion, and impaired memory. The most common psychiatric use of the term psychotic became synonymous with severe impairment of social and personal functioning, characterized by social withdrawal and an inability to perform the usual household and occupational roles. So when you use the term psychotic, these are individuals who are not in touch with reality, so they may manifest the following symptoms. So they may have delusions. So delusions are fixed false beliefs. It can be delusion of grandeur, paranoia. They may have hallucinations, visual, auditory. And these are usually seen in your kids' patients, psychosis kids, brief psychotic disorder. So let's talk about disturbances in consciousness. So consciousness is the state of awareness with response to external stimuli. First would be your disorientation. So here there's confusion, there's impairment of awareness of time, place, and person. Coma, on the other hand, is a state of profound unconsciousness. And somnolence is pathologic sleepiness or drowsiness from which one can be aroused to normal state of consciousness. So I think you're very much familiar with these terms. You've encountered this siguro in your PD. Sa PD, So drowsiness, a state of impaired awareness associated with a desire or inclination to sleep. Delirium, on the other hand, is acute, reversible, organic mental disorder characterized by confusion and some impairment of consciousness, generally associated with emotional lability, hallucinations, or illusions, and inappropriate, impulsive, irrational, or violent behavior. So most commonly, patients who are admitted, elderly patients, post-op, they may experience delirium, and sometimes they may manifest with aggressive behaviors, hallucinations. So what we normally would do is, when we assess these patients, we would usually advise for the medical problem to be corrected first if the delirium is due to a medical problem. No? But there are also occasions where we give antipsychotic medications just to address the aggression of the patient, pero low dose only. Common vigil, coma in which the eyes remain open, typically seen in acute organic mental syndromes associated with systemic infection. So your levels of consciousness, your coma, here patients are unresponsive, stuporous, they may respond to pain, lethargic, they are drowsy, and alert, full awareness to their surroundings. Next would be your disturbances of attention. So this aspect of consciousness refers to the amount of effort exerted in focusing on certain aspects of an experience, activity, or task. First would be distractibility, so the inability to focus one's attention. So you normally see this bipolar patients, they are easily distracted. Sometimes those with ADHD, they also complain that they get easily distracted. Selective inattention, inattentiveness to anxiety-generating areas. Trance, sleep-like state, or reduced consciousness and activity. And hypervigilance, excessive attention to and focus on all internal and external stimuli. Patients who are paranoid, they tend to be hypervigilant. So they're very much in tune to what is happening around them. selective inattention, you see this in anxious patients, wherein they try to avoid anything that makes them anxious, whether it's a place, whether it's a task, no, it's a person. That's why selective inattention. This inhibition is a greater freedom to act in accordance with inner drives or feelings. So when do you normally see this? Patients who are intoxicated, they may have decreased inhibition, so they may, do things that they wouldn't normally do if they are not drunk or not intoxicated. So disturbances of suggestibility. So suggestibility is a state of uncritical compliance with influence or of uncritical acceptance of a belief or attitude commonly observed among persons with hysterical traits. An example of suggestibility would be persons who, for example, actually I've seen this a few times, those who are in the medical field, like students, nursing, if they read something, they would sometimes believe na, hala, na ako, I have this, or I have experienced this. Nagdalang smile, nagdalang nakarelate. So that's suggestibility. So parang, hala, na-experience ako siya, do I have this? I also get that. I also get these kinds of patients. They would always say, when I would ask them, okay, what's the reason for the consult? No, kasi I saw on TikTok a video about ADHD. I would just explain, okay, we talk about ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder, so it starts from when you're young, not when you're an adult. Okay, they would say, look, it started during the pandemic, so it's least likely na ADHD. Falling ado, a mental illness shared by two persons usually involving a common delusional system. So you also call this shared psychosis. So this is, we've seen this kind of patients, pero this is rare. Since really I've only seen 3. Not my patients though, but in the work, patients of my co-residents know. So these are one patient, one person would be the one that's very delusional, and then the other person would, ride into the delusion, actually believe that what this person is saying is true. It was more of religious theme sa ilang mga delusions. So we had a mother and daughter. After a death, the mother started having delusions that God would send her messages about the end of the world and all of that. So the daughter actually believed also, so the two of them, they shared psychosis. So the only treatment would be to medically treat the person, the main one, the first psychosis, and then to separate the other. You don't need to treat the other person. You just need to separate them. You only need to treat the one with the brain, who was the first one to develop the psychosis. The other person, with the case that I mentioned, we just separated the daughter. So admitted si mother, and then the daughter had to stay with the grandparents. So that's fully entry. Hypnosis artificially induced alteration of consciousness characterized by increased suggestibility and receptivity to direction. So other students or Western practitioners who do hypnosis, I don't know anyone from local who does hypnosis. So behavioral symptoms like echocracia, pathological imitation of another person's movement, ataxia, muscle incoordination, tremors, rapid rhythmical alternating movements, chorea, rapid, random, jerky, purposeless movements. Then you have dyskinesia, difficulty performing voluntary movements, dystonia, sustained contractions of opposing muscle groups of the trunk. So acute dystonia, you see this in patients together with akathisia, those patients taking antipsychotic meds. These are the usual side effects. They may experience dystonia, muscle contraction, torticollis, akathisia, siya. It's a subjective feeling of inner restlessness. So these patients cannot really sit still. They have to move around. Even like their fingers, they would do this. Pain rolling. So these are the, this is a result of, what we call it, antipsychotic, the side effect of taking antipsychotic meds. So there's pacing, and other signs of motor agitation. They would really be walking around, they couldn't really sit down. So next would be catatonic posturing, voluntary assumption of an inappropriate or bizarre behavior. You see this in your SCITS, very severe SCITS patients, and then they would assume this position for a long time without getting tired. So they would assume this position. And even in severely depressed patients, depressed with psychotic features, severe psychosis, they would also do posturing. Catalepsy, condition in which a person maintains the body position in which they are placed. So if you put them in a specific position, they will stay in that position. They will not, move. Cataplexy, temporary loss of muscle tone precipitated by a variety of emotional states. Malugmok, hindi nakawalk. And there are times when they refer these patients to, just to clear, you have to refer them to a neurologist, just to make sure that there are no other medical problems, organic. So we've seen patients who suffer depression, anxiety, and then they would experience like muscle weakness, they wouldn't walk. That's how powerful the brain is. Catatonic rigidity, voluntary assumption of a rigid posture held against all efforts to be moved. So the same, severe SCITS patients. Then, I think I mentioned already, contraction, stereotypy, repetitive fixed patterns of action or speech, negativism, motiveless resistance to all attempts to be moved or to all instructions. So if you them alone, negativism, whatever we say, they wouldn't really listen, they wouldn't do anything, they would just stay still. So disturbances in mood would include the following. So dysphoric or melancholic, or basically just low mood, sad. Euthymic, it's normal range of mood. So in your MSE, when you say patient who's in examining, who's euthymic, so you say normal. Ecstatic, elevated, euphoric, normally increased high state. You would see this in your bipolar manic patients. Of course, depressed mood, so psychopathologically sad, dysphoric, and melancholic mood states. Being sad, it's not pathologic. Okay? It's a normal human emotion. We all experience sadness. But depression, it's a diagnosis, and it's chronic, it needs to be treated. Mania, it's mood characterized by elation, hyperactivity, hypersexuality, as well as pressure, speech, and thought. This is one reason why we admit patients who are bipolar manic, because they tend to be hypersexual. To the point that I had a patient that it was the boyfriend who actually asked his girlfriend to see consult because she was very hypersexual. The boyfriend was already complaining. The boyfriend was like, "Dok, hindi siya makontento. She would never be satisfied." The guy would already, he already knew that this is not normal. At first, enjoyed siya. But in the long run, it wasn't enjoyable anymore. So, mga nymphomania, you might think that they may have. There was this case we had that this female patient went on one night, she was able to sleep with multiple partners. She just went to bars in Baguio. would just, see and sleep and then look for another. So that's why we really would admit them. So irritability, easily angered, this is also another sign of your bipolar manic patients. They're very irritable. They easily agitated, easily angered. So they are usually irritable if they do not get what they want. So I want to go out. You don't go out, just stay inside the house. Wildness, and they would really make a scene. So, labayan, so these are oscillation, shifting moods. Again, bipolar patients. When you talk to your bipolar patients, you would see a variety of mood shifts in one sitting. At first, I know, and suddenly, they would really be excited, talk about so many things, and suddenly maghilak na sila, masuko na, they would get angry. So ikaw, you're the one listening, dapat ang iyong face, kalma na yun. So no changes in your they would have in one sitting multiple shifts. Cry, and suddenly happy, masuko, they would just remember something. So this is how they are. I was asked one time by our consultant, I was a resident, and then he asked me, Jane, if you would be diagnosed, if you would have a psych illness, what would you want to be diagnosed with? I said, I would rather be bipolar, rather than schiz, because bipolar you get to have all of these emotions. And then bipolar patients are pretty much functional. They go back to their pre-morbid states. Schiz patients, the longer it gets, the more deteriorated they are. So, bipolar lang ako. Bipolar kung siguro, awal na lang. Kasi bipolar 2, longer periods of depression, and then in between we have the highs. I don't want to be depressed a long time. Just a short. So alexithymia, the ability to be aware of or describe one's emotions. So because there are times when you can explain how you feel. So kami siya. So you know what I feel alexithymia right now. I cannot explain or describe how I feel. And I don't think this is seen in your depressed patients. They lose interest in the things that they used to enjoy. So affect. Mood again, mood is subjective. It's how one person feels. Affect is what is observable, what is being observed by the people around them. So restricted affect, there's reduction of emotions, blood red, and even greater reduction of emotion, and then flat absence or no more emotion. So the more flat, the more blunted or flat, the more psychotic the patient is. So schiz patients mostly flat affect. Talk about things, something like, for example, they will talk about a memorable, a happy experience, but their face is just black. There's no emotion at all. That's why I don't want to be schizophrenic, because there's no variation in their emotions. It's just blank. And then of course we have to talk about the appropriateness of the affect. Is it appropriate? So if you're talking about something happy, of course, you should also be happy. So that's appropriate. If you're talking about something sad, maybe you appear historic or tearful. Inappropriate is when you talk about something sad, pero sila katawa, or vice versa. Sinayo, ano na siya. Ganun, so, inappropriate or appropriate affect. So anxiety and related symptoms, anxiety is a feeling of apprehension caused by anticipation of danger. How do you differentiate that from fear? Fear is anxiety caused, sorry, that's a typo, caused by a real or realistic danger. So anxiety, it's future related. It did not happen yet, but you always have it in your mind. Hala, what if I fail? What if I don't pass my exams? Wala pala exam ha, you always have this. So fear is the actual, wala na ang result, wala nag-fail kung saan na siya. Siguro that's fear. So, my classic example would usually be like a person who experienced getting bitten by a dog when they were younger. Personal experience, ako ni. So, when the person was younger, napaapan siyang dog, she was bitten by a dog, so she would be scared of dogs. The thought of barking pa lang scared na siya. So she would get anxious. Oh, I will not go out. I will not go to SMC. There are so many dogs there. What if they bite me? That's anxiety. Fear is not a dog in front of you. You experience this intense emotion. Because the danger is in front. The dog is there. There's the news is there. Phobia, persistent, irrational, pathological dread of a specific stimulus or situation. So there are specific phobias. This will be for next year. There's a topic of that under anxiety. Panic attack, acute episodic intense attacks of anxiety with autonomic symptoms associated with feelings of dread. So, di ba, ang autonomic symptoms, there may be sweating, palpitations, feeling of being choked, chest heaviness, they may feel like they want to vomit or faint. That's panic attack. So if it's just one single episode, it's an attack. If it's multiple, then it's already a disorder, panic disorder. So obsession, pathological, persistence of an irresistible thought or feelings that can't be eliminated from consciousness. Well, compulsions are your pathological need to act on an impulse. So obsessions are usually kind of what do you call it? There's a difference between OC personality and OC disorder. Obsessive compulsive personality, these are persons who are into like they want things in order, arranged, color coordinated, and OC. The disorder would be involving rituals, numbers. Like, okay, if I need to, like, patient ako siya. If he walks into a door, if he walks into somewhere, he will start counting. If he reaches the door and it's an even number, he will go back. Kasi dapat odd number. Ayan. Siya. So another patient of mine, a student from a school, dentistry, hindi naman sa person na her, before she drives, before she switches on her car, the ignition, she has to pack the steering wheel 3 times. 1, 2, 3. She has to look up the sky. And then there's one more. She needs to do something before she switches off. Okay, if hindi na niya mabuhat, she will believe that something bad will happen to her. That's OC disorder. Different from the personality. Diba? I think it's because if you start to put meaning into things, that becomes a problem. Diba? Like for example, if someone who dreams about their teeth falling, they have to bite on wood. Because if they don't do it, someone might die. So I think this stems from our traditional beliefs. And if you think about it, there's really no basis. There's really no basis. So it's when we put meaning into certain things. And then, if we contaminations or not, what if I get infected, if there's germs. It can also be sexual or homicidal sessions. So compulsions would be the actions that you do to cover the fault so that you won't get as anxious. So hand washing, checking of the box, category, symmetry. What I would tell my patients is you have to have a mental snapshot in your head. For example, locking the door, switching off the gasoline. Take a mental picture in your head that you're doing it. Para when you think, how did I do it? So you will recall. Checking it once is fine. Checking it 5 times, it's really not normal. Like even taking showers. If it's time consuming, then that's already pathology. I have patients when they take showers, it takes hours, and they have this ritual, what they do, how they scrub their bodies. Okay naman concern. The weirdest I got was this patient of mine who was cooking, and then I was washing dishes, and then her stove was nearby, parang just beside. So accidentally, parang ang soap na ito sa iyang luto. She was washing one. So since after consuming her food, she always had this thought, what if I get poison? Because ang joy liquid, ang joy, daw kasi yung joy na sabon, napunta siya, it got mixed with the food daw. So since then, she would not wash her hands. She would not use soap. She would only use alcohol. So I told her, do you know that alcohol is much more toxic than washing? Because dinilig siya, she wouldn't touch soap anymore, and she would bathe. So sometimes the husband would worry to the point that she would not take a bath. If she would, dapat pag yun mineral water, tapos she would alcohol constant. So I said, okay, what we did was, and then if she touches something, she would get scared that she would be infected. So alcohol dahil siya. So what we did was, slowly, okay, if you touch something, hold that for a second, don't wash. Don't use alcohol. Just, you expose them, and then there's a delay before tapos you ask them to list down their whatever it is, their fears. Kasi imagine alcohol everyone. Just alcohol, but she doesn't use soap. And di ba alcohol famous na kasi sa neighbor, ma-absorb really siya. So, and then I would just, explain like that siya. That's how the mind is, grabe ka, mga OC. And for these patients, it's very distressing for them. Imagine walking, tapos magkawag pa ka, tapos pag-dili siya, hindi na sa kawag, so that's also. Disturbances in speech, repression speech, poverty of speech. Pressured speech, these are patients or panic. We need to say pressure, the pressure to keep talking. You cannot interrupt them. They are the ones talking. So you have a hard time holding it. That's why it's pressure. Okay? They keep talking. Poverty of speech na kasi. So, really depressed patient, they don't normally talk. If they do, it's just maybe small words. Dysphonia, difficulty in speaking, dysprosody, loss of normal speech melody. These are the difficulty in articulation and stuttering. So disturbances in thought processes, these are problems in how a patient or a person formulates their thoughts or thinking process. So you have your looseness of association, there's irrelevance, well, there's no connection in what the person is saying. So normally, psychotic patients. Flight of ideas, changing topic. So see, flight of ideas, this is seen in your bipolar. So they talk fast, they have shifting topics, but somehow it still makes sense. No, logical train of thought. Compared to your looseness, na wala din siya. Looseness of associations, patient talks calmly normally, pero what they're saying does not connect. So if you're listening to these individuals, parang, what's up na siya? Wala cute. So, that's the difference. Flight of ideas, changing topics, bipolar, racing thoughts. Literally, patients would say that their motor, it's like their mind is running on water. They have so many things in their head. Again, mga bipolar patients. Tangentiality, you ask a question, the patient doesn't give you the answer. Doesn't, really matumbok ang topic, what you're asking. So then they become tangential. So, you're away from the topic that you're asking. And they don't go back. Circumstantiality, parang beating around the bush. They say so many things before they actually get to the point of what they want to say. So, people like, when you ask questions and you don't really recall the answer immediately, so you say a lot of things first before you actually answer. The mga may students, di ba, like, mayuksa sila. O maybe your SGDs, di ba? Sige ay over-inclusion of things before getting to the topic. Kumusta naman ang SGD? Under Dr. Pinero, okay mo? Fresh na fresh. Kaya-kaya. Pag na-friends ang mga niya, he would just invite you, video kita tayo, tayo. Friends, kamo. Kamo sila, kamo. Okay pa, smile mo lang sila. So, word salad, incoherent mixture of words. And then derailment, deviations in the trains of thoughts. And neologist and patient makes up new words. So these are, hopefully, you get to see this when you go there to reach. So disturbances, continuation, thought process, slang association, verbiculation, echolalia, repeating of words and phrases, thought blocking, abrupt interruption of train of thinking. So these are patients that when you're talking to them, they would, respond when suddenly stop, and then they don't really remember what they were saying. Thought blocking. Glossolalia, unintelligible jargon. So almost done. So disturbances in thought content. So what are inside the person's mind? Process how they formulate their thoughts, content, what the patient is actually thinking. So have your delusions. So delusions are fixed false beliefs based on incorrect inferences about external reality. So your delusions can be non-bizarre, meaning to say this happens in real life. Like delusion of jealousy, it can happen, we get jealous. Pero the bizarre delusions are those that are impossible. Like for example, my body is being replaced by an alien. So that is bizarre. Or what do you call it? Satellites are pointing lasers into my brain. That's why I get these headaches. So that's bizarre, okay? It's not factual. So delusion of grandeur, you see this in your bipolar patients. patients with parang they see themselves as someone na parang above all. They have all of these beliefs na like we have a patient na don't you know that I was the one who developed the vaccine for COVID. Ikaw okay, sige. These are graduate solution. Yeah, we had one patient who was brought into Soto because in SM, she would go into shops, get stuff without paying because she is the wife of Henry Steve. So of course, hindi mo siya wife ni Henry Steve. So diretso siya sa psychiatric. Then siya graduate solution. Persecutory, somebody is following me, someone wants to kill me, what do you call it? Kaya mga, what's the term? I forgot. Pero kaya mga theories na, somebody's out to kill me. Pilitin isundan persecution or paranoia. So if you have a patient with paranoid delusions, always rule out substance use. Okay, that's the hallmark of substance-induced psychosis, your persecutory delusion. So erotomania, jealousy, thought insertion, thought broadcasting. So these are mga thought insertion, it's bizarre. Okay? Thoughts, a person would believe that what he's saying is inserted by someone. Parang you're putting thoughts into my mind. Thought broadcasting, what I'm saying is being broadcasted to the world. Ideas of reference, for example, they're watching TV, there's someone on the news time, something that ibalita sa news, and they would believe that it's them that's being talked about in the news. Ideas of reference. Somatic delusions, problems, beliefs that something's wrong with your body. Like patient, we had one patient na she would constantly believe that bad breath siya, pero hindi cure ko siya bad breath. Pero she believes. Delusions are kind of fixed false belief. You actually believe it. Like jealousy, if you get jealous, it doesn't mean that you're delusional. It's normal not to get jealous. If we feel it, what makes it delusional or pathological, if you actually believe. For example, you feel, my boyfriend is parang nakakapag ng girl or if we're married to something. So, people jealous ka. Or talaga you feel that. Pero sila pinipinig ito pwede mo, ano mo, sa kasi mo, ikaw, so, hindi na siya normal. Illness anxiety. And next would be perceptual disturbances. So you have your hallucinations, illusions, depersonalization, and derealization. So hallucinations are false sensory perceptions not associated with any external stimuli. Common with auditory hallucinations. You have your visual hallucination. If it's visual and other hallucinations involving smell or we feel something, we want to rule out any any organic cause. Most likely, mga space occupying lesions or tumors, they may present with visual hallucinations. Not all hallucinations are pathologic, so it can be normal. Like for example, hypnagogic. Like when you're about to sleep and you hear someone talking. No. Nagiging sila normal. Sila normal. Hypnopompic while awakening. So when about to sleep, you're about to wake up. So these can be normal. Illusions, perceptual misinterpretation of earlier external stimuli. So the difference, hallucinations, there's no stimuli, but you hear something, you see something. Illusions, there's a stimuli, outside, tapos light na, you think it's a someone. Yung kanto siya, kanto eh, pero real din siya. There's a stereotype, there's something there. It's just that you misinterpret it to be something else. Depersonalization and derealization, feelings of detachment. So these are individuals who experience abuse, those who are very depressed. They feel as if they're not in tune with their body. They feel like an outsider looking up. Para bang a third person. They just see themselves there. Parang ana siya. That's how they explain it. Others also, they don't really know what's happening. So they just suddenly, like one patient na naabot siya o J1 pa to siya, hindi pa to SMJ1. She was able to go there without even remembering how she got to that place. She was just walking. Narcissism, it's a form of, it's a personality disorder. So it's different. Narcissistic are individuals who feel like they're entitled. Everybody is wrong. What you're saying is wrong. I'm the only right one. That's how usually narcissists are. So whatever is happening around the world, it's because it's your fault, not mine. That's how they think. Narcissistic. So the loss of memory from immediate reset reward. So when we talk about MSA, I will just discuss this further. So also these are also parts of MSA, abstract thinking, ability to grasp the essentials of a whole, to break a whole into parts and to discern common properties. So when you ask this, in your MSc, you ask them to define a proverb or explain a proverb or the similarities between objects. So we will discuss this in the MSc. So insight, conscious recognition of one's own condition. So this will be, we'll just discuss this at the MSc topic. Okay, so I think that ends the science and so my message for the weekend, so sometimes you just have to take a deep breath, relax, and let things go. Focus on what matters to you and what matters in your life. The rest will all work itself out. Just take it one step at a time. So I'll see you next week. Exciting interview. And then the week after is your MSc. And then the first exam will be on September 1. What time?
We agreed on after
Mga 2 p.m.
siguro i-upload is 1 p.m.
So we'll see you next week. Everybody. No questions?
Does everyone register their attendance?